when you find the right locations, when you see it with Michael's tree houses, trees are always growing out to grab the sun. So there's always a beautiful little opening in the middle that allows you to create this little abode. So, you know, while you're doing this measurement, just sort of take note. You know, I'll put notes on my drawings or on my measurements of the way the tree leans. Like this madrona, I might say, leans out and sort of point narrow. I'll often take my phone and find out where, you know, it's pretty obvious where south is here, but you know, with your phone, you can just get your compass in there, and you can, you know, I might even say, for fun, I'll do this. I've been doing this a lot lately, where I'll get my compass out, and I'll just get it here real quick. I don't know if you still have to do this to zero in, but I'll do it. So if I'm looking at this tree to that tree, if I point right out it, that's, you know, 290 degrees west. So I would put on my notes, if I'm looking at, you know, just as an extra note to kind of zero you back into reality, I'm going to go, you know, that direction is 290 degrees. Just easy to do, helps you remember which way is west, because I always think of the sunset more than anything on a tree house, where the sun's coming from. Okay, so field notes are done. As simple as that is, do you get the picture?
Got it.
Okay, bark to bark, circumference, height that you want it.
And direction.
Yeah. Don't spend, you know, well, spend the night there if you can, but you don't have to be so tight with your numbers. Just be able to read your notes, though. That's important. And when you go back to your desk, then you've got your graph paper here, and you know that, you know, this let's say this first line, it's a straight line. So I just use my graph paper, and here's that straight line right here. Well, let's say that 12-inch diameter post. I'm going to show you another.
We have some graph paper right here in these little notebooks.
I did it.
The ones that say "B" in a tree.
Yeah, that's good. This is all I bring with me. I usually have a tape measure, but I don't today.
Sorry,
I'm getting
I
my
left mine home,
pencil.
too.
I have pencils.
Do you really want one? I'll get you a tape measure somewhere.
No. Okay. These are those cheapo pencils. I love them. This is my little stencil that tells me where my 12-inch, I go half-inch scale. This is my scale. Does everybody have a good old ruler like this? You know, the 1/4-inch scale? It's basic. This just makes it easy. So, I'm going to do this. Forget the whiteboard. I know that I'm going to have a straight line from that tree to that tree. I'm going to use this guy right here. This is my line on my graph paper. I'm going to go, okay, let's just say that I did that with this, right? That's done. I'm going to use this. 12'6". Oh, there it is, 12'6".
Wow.
Perfect. Okay, and the other one is, okay, this is what you do. That's 12'6" over there, and that, so we did those two, so we're going for the madrona now. The madrona is 12'6", so you go, oh, 12'6". I put a little dash there because I got to find the other 12'6" here. 12'6", oh, dash. That means if I do my little template here, and it's a 10-inch tree, I have to kiss those little arcs there, and oh, there it is. And this is exactly what's in the field. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does it really?
Yes.
Okay? Precisely, too. That's the important thing. Within reason. Right? Okay. Now, here's the classic setup. I can go to the whiteboard with this. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that that this is precisely what we just drew. This is the madrona. Here's the big fat fir, and this is a fir, but we're pretending it's real, alive, I mean. Okay, so as simple as 3 trees are, it's often confounding as how you want to create the beams, because this next step, which is the most important, really, is getting a system, a platform that's going to work. It's going to move a little bit in the trees. We've got this. We have to put a queen-size bed, an observatory, a desk, a deck. We've got a coffee machine in there too, a kitchen.
Yes, but we got a small roof over the deck, remember?
Small. Do we need a kitchen, a kitchenette, like a coffee maker?
Coffee maker anyway.
And a composting toilet?
Yes, and a composting toilet.
And an outdoor shower. Okay, we can do all of this. So what we'll need to do is we're going to have to expand this as much as we can, because to fit all that into something that would fit in there is hard. So we're going to have to cantilever and spread this load out. So I'm looking at that big fir tree as our anchor now, and so let's think about that being the beefy member of this whole setup, and so thereby this I'm sort of thinking. We do this a lot where I want to have 2 beams, right? I know I'm going to have 2 beams because you need 2 beams at least to put your joists on top of. That creates your floor, right? And that's a basic. We got to figure this out. I mean, we're not going to just have 1 beam up there because that doesn't do you any good. You need 2 beams. And sometimes if you've got this set up, you might have 16 beams, depending on what. But right here, 2 beams at a minimum. Okay, when they come in at an angle, if they come in like so, here's our beefcake fir. We could just go as simple as, put a tab in here, put a tab in here, put a tab here, put a tab here. And we've got this sort of a setup. That, we've got a lot of treehouse to build. I would love to see, a little more width between these guys, right?
Yes.
So that makes the yoke but what if we put the yoke on this? By yoke, I mean, if we're going to go in an elevation here, a yoke, I would see there's probably one within.
Right in front of you. Actually, yeah.
Well, essentially the yoke, as we call it, is just this big triangular piece. We build it out of wood, out of steel, but it takes that post, essentially the tree, and then just pulls the weight-bearing ability of it out. So if we're going to fit all this good stuff in our treehouse, I think we need to make this platform as big as we possibly can. So, I've got this looking down on it, which in elevation is really this. There's a tab on the bottom and a tab on the top, and then you've got this. You might have, the biggest yoke that I feel comfortable doing, and Charlie Greenwood might have something to say about this, of course, but if you had 12 feet from point to point, that's huge in my mind. Just the feel of that seems like, wow, that's a lot. And so when I'm drawing these things, I'll often go, wow, well, 12 is kind of it's almost beyond my comfort level, so I might just say 10, because 10's easy. I like 10. Okay, let's just go 10. So when I'm thinking about this, and I want to take a break for just a second to talk about the importance of this again, and that is, this looks all simple, and it is, but take your time and let this thing simmer a little bit, because it's a big step, and if you just charge right through it and you're moving quickly, you might find out later that, boy, I wish I had done it a little bit differently. Even something as simple as this. For instance, I have drawn here 2 yokes, right? I've got one on the front side of this fir, but I also just kind of drew one on the back. And as your mind works on this, and this is not by any means a hassle. This is just lovely sort of meditation in a way, this design stuff. So you got to think about this for a bit and say, all right, well, we could put the yoke on that one side, and now we're spreading the load out. We've got a beam now that's out here, beam that's out here. If we go on the, if we didn't do this one, then we can extend, cantilever that beam at distance, those distances. Charlie Greenwood always said that if you're gonna cantilever something, what's the furthest out you can really go? And yes, you can engineer something that could reach out to as far as you could imagine and still work. But for us treehouse builders, 8 feet is about the limit before Charlie gets wiggly about stuff. So let's just, in the back of your mind, 8 feet's the limit. So what if we just kind of said more like 6 feet? And does that get you what you need? Because the distances here, 12, 6. I know that we can span, and this is again probably more experience, but if you have a good glue laminated beam, you should be able to have a 16-foot span between trees pretty easily and put a big heavy house on it. So this 12-6, I might want to put the yoke on the back side of this guy. Yeah, let's do that. Let's put this. So what I'm trying to show you here is that let's not race into a design that kind of pins us in. Let's consider all this stuff and go, okay, how can we maximize this platform? Knowing what we're going to build here, I think we really have to consider how we can make this as big as possible. Okay, so let's pretend that we've settled our yoke idea. There are options like you might find when you're working with an engineer that they go, oh, but wait, Pete, you can't, this thing's going to weigh, believe it or not, 70,000 pounds. And you can't just ask this span to happen. And maybe we do have a second yoke here. There's ways of distributing the weight of this thing. So be open to that. Oftentimes you'll find yourself, wondering why the engineer is such a pain in the ass making me do this thing. That's just life. So if you do the math, you might find out that the second yoke is important. Let it, just live with it. You'll be fine. Just money. Which is sometimes very short.
Agreed.
Okay. Here's the next part of this. That let's remember that we've really let this thing simmer for a bit, and we're comfortable now with the platform. At least the beam layout. We have the ability to now use our joists going the opposite directions. Well, that's why you have roofs over your decks. Walnuts. So let's see that beam there. We know we can cantilever over the beam because you got that. The joists are running over the tops of the beams. What's the distance that you can comfortably go here? I say 4 feet. We have the Q factor, the Queasy factor. 5 feet, it gets pretty bouncy. 2 by 12s, I'm thinking. 6 feet, it gets, yeah. Charlie wouldn't let us do that. So let's just maximize our platform here. We're going to get to the house in a bit. But
To a square, or are you going to keep it oblong?
I'm going to just sort of let it be what it is. Here's the thing: the trees are giving you everything. I mean, what I love about designing tree houses, as a quick aside, is that it's not like writing a song or something. Like, I can't imagine how artists paint a picture when they have a blank canvas. In this case, we have a huge leg up. I mean, here the trees are. Now all we have to do is just, interpret what they're allowing us to do, right? So we're working with the trees, and we're just kind of, at the moment, I'm trying to maximize, because of all the things we want to put into our treehouse, I'm trying to create the biggest floor plan that I can possibly create without overburdening the trees, but or making it dangerous. And then from there, we can talk about cutting it back. But for the moment, I'm going to expand as much as I can. So let's call that 4 feet out here. We've got this sort of guideline. This, if it's a glue laminated beam that again, Charlie lets us go 8 feet out, but let's say we go 5 feet out from where the tab is in the tree. This one, same, that's a 10-inch thing. Maybe we just go 4 feet out. You're just going by gut a little bit here. That's fine. Just go by gut. That's often the right call. So now we have an opportunity to fill up all of this, right? Boom. How your joist layouts work is a really interesting situation too, because you've got to allow this all to move and flex. Like the big wind came through here, that madrona might really want to move a little bit, so you've got to allow for that kind of movement. This, when you get down into the nitty gritty of what, there's a tab here, a Garnier limb, but is that statically connected to the beam, or is it a dynamic connection where you've got that madrona is going to be moving in the wind, and you've got that big beam sitting there. So I think that the anchor tree with its yoke would have a static connection on those beams, and then the madrona tree would have this kind of a connection so the madrona could move around a little bit. I'm going to just imagine that fir isn't really moving all that much. And if it does move, it's going to move the beams with it, because this guy is holding that beam, So if that fir tree is moving, the whole thing's moving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me why, when you're picking your anchor tree, like the one that's going to be the static tree, how do you pick that? And it's usually just the biggest one.
When they won't move.
Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask you if because I'm seeing where you're going, I think, and that's going to carry most of your load. Is the large tree?
Well, it can, yeah. And
Right.
you can give it a big load.
Yeah, because you can bring the bedroom or anything towards that aspect.
Well, we can get to that too, but you're right. I mean, that's obviously just such a big, beautiful anchor that you want to use it as much as you can. So it's going to take quite a bit of weight here. It's already taking much more of the floor plan. All right, so we've got our rough outline now, and you've got this all plotted out on your graph paper, and you're sitting at your desk. All right, let's just jump to the house itself. How can what am I going to, let's not worry about what it looks like on the outside right now. Let's just build the floor plan. And the way I do that is I look at these same trees, and it's very practical. I'm on my graph paper, right? So I'm a plywood builder. A plywood builder likes right angles. We do, the 2-foot increments, I hate to say it, but the fact is that I can't afford most of the time to create curves outside of the deck. Now, the deck is a different animal, because the deck is one layer. You can make the organic curves, and you can put your railings and make them organic, but so many times I'm working with budgets that are just not going to allow me to go create the Taj Mahal, and we can do things with 90-degree angles, and the less corners the better, as far as budgets go. This is something we've all heard forever. Corners are expensive. So, if you really want to be careful about budget, you might want to just limit the number of corners you have in your project. So, that said, let us just start building corners all over the place. Because, we know that for me to fit between the tree and the siding that I have to do to get this thing waterproof, and a quick aside that's important, I never have trees or limbs come through the envelope of a tree house, per se. So by all means, kids' tree houses and your own tree house can have branches running through them, but it's going to leak. It can have a tree go right through the middle, and you're going to make it waterproof. That's going to last about, well, who knows? The first real shaker of a windstorm is when it's going to leak. So, but it will leak. And yes, there are ways that you could think that you're going to get it not to leak, and maybe that'll work, but I don't think it will. I've tried, and I've tried many times. So I'm just going to say, if you want to have your house remain in a certain temperature, or so when you're crawling into your bed, it's not all just wet.
Moist.
Yeah. And your papers aren't all curled
Up. Your book doesn't feel right in your hands.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm with you.
It's an envelope, a building envelope that you're going to keep wholesome. Okay, so to get this siding on, I want at least a foot. And when the tree's blowing around in the wind, you don't want it knocking on your house all the time. So I'm going to give it a foot. And with the graph paper now, you've got this beautiful possibility. Sometimes I'll layer my graph paper over the top. In fact, I would tell you this, with this sort of paper, it's that vellum, it's sort of see-through, right? So once you've got your platform kind of understood, I'll do this, and then with this and all of its beautiful corners already on there, I'll just put it on top of that paper and just kind of slide it around. And then when you're doing that, like I can do it right here. Watch this. So let's say, boy, I'm going to try to keep this thing as simple as I can, but you know, I need a foot out from here. So I'm going to, as you've got your lines, I know you can't see these lines, but I'm going to try my best to just hang on to these 90-degree lines. So let's just do this for the sake of showing you. I'm going to come off a foot, half-inch scale puts me out here. Oh wait, that's 2 feet. Okay, but let's just say, I'm just going to do this to each one of my trees, knowing that I can't really build inside there anyway. And then, magically, look what happens. Let's get rid of this for a minute, but let's just do this like so. Boom, boom. Okay, I know I can't get within a foot of that. Well, let's just see if we pick up something there. Oh, let's see if we pick up. Are we going to close that whole thing in? I don't think so. But where I'm going here is that all of a sudden you're going to realize that, all right, let's start considering some other things. Like, that's the sun. I know I want to be out for cocktail hour at the sunset. So I want to have a deck on this side somewhere. All right? And when I'm sleeping, I don't need that light. So I want to be, you know, in the north end somewhere. Maybe this side, maybe this side. In the morning, so east, I would love to have a little morning light come through while I'm making my coffee, let's say. Oh, this seems like maybe kitchen area then. So if that's kitchen area and this is cocktail deck and living right off of that, then my bedroom's probably gonna have to be over here.
Where's your stairs?
Damn it. I always forget the stairs. All right, let's figure out where the stairs go. Yeah, we can figure that out. Let's get that. Let's figure that out later. It's usually when I figure it out. Got a really stairs are a really tough thing. You know, do you want to have that unwritten rule of architecture is that you really want to know where the entrance of a building is?
You want them on the uphill side.
Thank you. That's exactly right. You want them on the uphill. Okay, so I don't want to go down to go up. I want to go up and then up. So, Michael, you're exactly right. So go to the high side. In this case, okay, everything's flat, so we don't really have that going for us. But again, back to this idea, like, okay, how do I get into my treehouse? You know, a house is one thing. When your friends are showing up to have dinner at your house, they want to know where your front door is. A treehouse, maybe we keep it a little more mysterious. So this is the whole thing. Where's your stair? Does it have to be right there when you come into the driveway? You want to start going up, or do you want to have it hidden?
By the wardrobe in Narnia?
Right. You could have it really hidden, completely hidden.
Completely hidden.
Is there a bridge possibility? Everybody wants a bridge, and I love bridges. So
Me too.
Bridge in from somewhere higher. So we can cross that
Bridge when we get there.
later. But for now, back to this idea. Your treehouse is starting to come into focus because, boy, I know I can't get within a foot of that tree. Sometimes I'll squeeze it to 9 inches when I start really looking at how much space I need. And, you know, I still go into my bathroom and measure the distance from the back of the wall to the front of the toilet. I think it's like 2'3" or something. And I still go up to my queen size bed and I go, is it still 5 feet wide? Yeah, it's 5 feet wide. And it's 6'9" long, 81 inches. I think that's 6'9". Okay, so you gotta keep all these things in mind. So as you start to build this thing, you know.
Are you going to have the exposure of the tree?
How do you mean?
inside the,
Oh, windows, absolutely.
no, the tree itself, of the holding of the tree, of the tree house. Will you be able to touch the tree from the inside?
Very good. From the inside, you'd have to open a window, but you.
Oh,
you
I
could.
see, so
Yeah.
you're encasing it like that then?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is where, you know, this is again, wall, room to get in here and side it if I needed to, or clean the windows, because absolutely, this would indicate a window, a little window.
Okay, gotcha.
Right?
Yep.
Because you want to see that you're in a tree house, and the trees are the most beautiful part. So, you have your windows, but you're gonna have to clean them too, so maybe you could open it. So, so let us just come to a conclusion here of what this treehouse looks like. We've got 4 feet or so this direction. Where there's interesting things we can do here where you've got the joist layout like so. You know, you get to a point and you want to turn and take advantage of all this space. So how do you do this? Get your joist to go that direction or fan out. And this is all part of that. Take your time, think about it. How are you going to support this end? You know, with all things being flexible, you've got to, maybe you end up with just one yoke out here. These are all just factors to consider. You know, you'd have to double up your joist or even triple up your joist and then have it run over the top of that.
With a step up, maybe a step up?
Step up, yeah. Is this making sense?
Yes,
You're sure?
yes.
Because I don't think I'm making very
Oh,
good
you're
sense.
making a lot of sense, it's just jet lag, don't worry about it.
Okay. Okay, now if that was in scale, you'd have your floor plan, and you have to start really, you know, this is, I don't want to go into the elevation yet. We will momentarily, but for now, let's just concentrate on the floor plan, because the important thing is that, you know, you want to make spaghetti, and you need a kitchen for that. So here's, you know, here's your kitchen, and your coffee maker's here, and you've got a sink here, and you've got, do you have a cook stove maybe or something? Is there enough room
A
to
convection oven.
Convection oven, perfect. So remember, 12.6 minus a foot minus another foot, that's 10.6, and then 6 inches of wall, it's probably less than that, but another foot of wall, that is 9'6". So you know, you really, when you're on your graph paper, you can really measure this stuff out and see exactly what you have. You know, 9 feet of counter, that's a lot of counter. Do you want to think about maybe grabbing some of that and making a little settee, or is that what it's called? Maybe you need a little table in there, because gosh, what you got to eat. Maybe this wall just goes straight now, and you've got a
Maybe
I'm
a
into
pan-
sliding doors, you know.
Quiet, please.
Maybe a pantry
Stop interrupting him.
Stop listening to him?
No, stop interrupting.
Oh,
So the idea here is, you know, simplicity, because I like dollars are always a consideration. So again, if I could cut out a corner here with the building itself, look at that. We've got a straight line that we could come all the way over to this point. Okay, we just got rid of a whole corner there, but we've got deck. So we've got that sunset kind of a deck out there, which is great. And now, you know, we've got this area that we could use. Do we want to try to grab some of that? I don't think we need to grab any of this space here. I mean, it's valuable space. We could have more deck space out there, but we don't need to add 1-2 more corners out there that are expensive. Let's just come back in and work with, that was the beam I was on, work with all this space here.
Yeah, but if you want that outdoor shower, you can put that outdoor shower there.
That's where the outdoor shower goes.
Perfect.
Takes a village.
Sunset outdoor shower.
Sunset outdoor shower. Perfect. You know, the plumbing is a little far, but that's fine. Maybe you grab some of this with the plumbing already over here and do a more, I mean, not that it's any more private, but you could, you know, that's a consideration. Is okay, we need the outdoor shower, so, you know, do we want to run water all the way over there, or can we take that same little Insta-Hot and use it for the shower close by here? so let's put our bed in here. There's our 5 by 7. I usually just make it. Does it have to have privacy? I don't know. This is sort of a love shack. I would say let's not have walls or anything. It's just a one open room. This is beautiful view, so I don't think we want to put a closet over here. What if we just shift the bed this way? And you don't really need closets in bedrooms, I mean in tree houses, but some people want them and they should have them. Which means you've got to have a window looking at the tree, at least from the kitchen. But you might turn your back on the tree just to create a closet or somewhere to store stuff. You need a broom closet.
That would be where your sink is, wouldn't it?
The sink was over
Over
here.
to the left, where you put your little
Right.
table.
So here's the living room chair. What are we forgetting? The desk. That's always what I do. I forget. People want washers and dryers, and I always forget that. Oh, washer, dryer. How are you gonna fit that in? You gotta build a whole new thing.
Stackables.
We don't want the washer and dryer.
Okay, forget the washer. No, we didn't have any room for that. Did we put a bathroom in? Oh, the bathroom. This is what happens every time. We forgot the bathroom. Okay, so here's what we do. The bathroom, we don't want to look at the bathroom anyway, so let's just put that in that far corner. We've got this much room to play with. I've seen bathrooms that are absolutely tiny, so let's just go ahead and put it in here. And, you know, the table, damn, that's in the way. But you get the picture?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, and it's a joy to spend time thinking about all these things. So what I will do now is we could do elevations. Let's spend a moment on elevations because this is, you know, always good to talk about how this then grows. We don't have any obstructions up high. The real consideration is the roof itself. And you know, in the early days, you know, I would always get so complicated, and I'd create these roofs that were just so many planes. When again, simplicity. Like look at the roof over this bathhouse. You know, if you could create a way to just, you know, we've got our sun going that way. Do we want to, you know, we've got to shed water, but is the ridge like this direction or is it the opposite direction? You know, that's your next consideration. I would think that you'd want to scoop the sun, you know, so maybe the ridge is this way, and then, you know, in the end, what you need to do is just build this thing up. I'll go through different phases where I like a roof angle that's a 5-12, and then I was just drawing a 12-12, and you know, it's all up to you as to what that looks like. You know, 3-12 is still sheds water, I think, but you know, you start getting a little worried about that. So it's just really a matter of aesthetics and cladding. You know, do you want to do? Heck, you could do stucco if you wanted, but I don't think that's a great thing to put on a treehouse. So board and batten is usually the sort of fallback. It covers a lot of space quickly, and so you know that vertical line that you get with board and batten often works well with trees. You know, it just sort of fits well. You know, horizontal lines. And this starts getting into aesthetics where, you know, I love cedar shingles. They're one of my favorite, you know, really good-looking stuff. But you know, that creates that horizontal